Hi, and thanks again for joining me on Sealed for Good. This week I'm talking about particle board flooring. Many of you know it as yellow tongue, which is an industry terminology that's used out there, but particle board flooring has been around for many years in the construction industry, and somehow it found its way into waterproofing applications as a substrate for tiling and membranes in wet areas. Yes, it has, and many of you still see it out there, and so it is still a grey area, if I could call it that, because many people have certain opinions and thoughts on this. I'm going to give you my position on it, which is Gripset's position, and how we handle it, and our thoughts and processes on how to treat particle board or yellow tongue flooring. So firstly, let's look at internal wet areas. Internal wet areas. Most builders these days will use an inert material. Inert meaning that it doesn't react to thermal temperatures, like cement sheeting, compressed fibre sheeting, or things that we see now like Skyon, Hebel. There's a number of other substrates out there that are of a synthetic base, or your old form concrete that is used for wet area flooring. It's more stable, and even though it still has to be waterproof, it's not as volatile to temperatures. Timber, for those of you who know it very well, is a living and breathing thing, okay? Almost like a bottle of wine. And so, very important to understand that with timber, every time the temperature changes, you're going to have the timber move. Now, it's not visible to the eye, it doesn't move and flex to the point where you can see it, but small movement will happen in the substrate. So we have timber joists on building sites, but then we've got timber flooring. Now, particle board flooring is commonly used in dry areas, very stable for things like vinyl, etc., or carpets. But when we've got tiles and you've got something that's a solid, sound substrate in a wet area, and then you've got particle board flooring underneath, you need to be certain that if it is the floor that you're going to be working over, that precaution's been taken to ensure that it's been fixed correctly. Now, all building substrates need to be fixed properly, I get that. However, if you're tiling over anything with particle board or timber flooring, ensure that it is glued and screwed. Otherwise, you could be the latter, screwed. Get this right, because the important piece is that, and this is imperative, right? Not just about important, it is vitally important that we understand this. Yellow tongue and particle board flooring, it doesn't always have to absorb water for it to move. It will find its way into a movement factor just from the thermal changes that happen within the building substrate or within the construction. And what that does, it will compromise the finish on top. When you've just nailed timber flooring down like you would in a dry area, then its fixing strength is a lot different than when it's screwed and glued down. Very important. So get that piece spot on first. Then you need to make sure it's a timber which is designed for wet areas. And if you're not certain about that, ask your builder or your client and ensure it is. If it's not, you are taking a big risk to try and waterproof or tile over it in a wet area. Now, there are options in that situation. I've seen many tilers and waterproofers, when they're faced with that situation, they will perhaps nail cement sheeting down, the thin HardieFlex, or the equivalent of that, 4 to 5, 6 mil thick over the top. It's a more stable surface, which works like an underlay. And then they can put their waterproofing or tiling directly over that. Very important. Tilers or waterproofers must make sure that they've put some sort of cement sheeting underlay down on top of that flooring before they go and lay tiles or waterproofing over the top, to ensure that it is isolated from the surface. Otherwise, the particle board or timber will move and flex and compromise your finish. That's critical. We do have our GC range, our GC1, our GC2, that are used for anti-fracture systems for that, and the GC2 is more of a decoupling. It's a great option, and it's a lot quicker than nailing cement sheeting down onto timber flooring now. Choice for many tilers and our waterproofing friends, so thanks for your support there. But the feedback has been that it's very quick, and it allows you to just flow on and get your tiles down without all the noise of nailing every 100 mil of cement sheet underlay down. Different application again, but just going there in terms of how to prepare the surface. But if you have got yellow tongue flooring in a wet area, I'm always suspicious of it in a shower alcove, that people would still risk putting a membrane over that, even though it may be a wet area grey timber flooring. My preference is I would ask the builder or your client to ensure that you're going to get paid to take the precaution with a membrane like this over the top, or, as I said before, you put the cement sheet down on top of that before you start tiling directly over it, because it's not so much that you're going to have a failure with the waterproofing, but you could have a failure with the tiles cracking, and that brings up the waterproofing, and then it all compounds from there. So get that part right. It's not, I've just seen so many situations where I've seen timber actually mushroom out in applications where it just absorbs, because it doesn't just absorb the thermal moisture from the top, it's from the underside and the cavity. And that there, with temperature change, creates the timber to react as it's designed to do. The other piece is, which really concerns me, particularly when I see in the winter months on building sites, these sorts of sheets are delivered on site and they're left outside sometimes for a week or two before the carpenters start putting them inside. And by that time, they've absorbed dew, rain, all the different moisture conditions that are outside. And then by the time it's put inside, it's already swelled or absorbed a level of moisture. And so you actually don't know if you're going over a bone dry surface.